Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers, geezers, and geeks alike. It's this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast, where we talk about geeky things that we like. That's it. That's what we like. Because at the moment, there's a writer's strike on, so there's no fucking entertainment, so we're having to plumb the depths and look at the news. And some shit fucking TV while we're at it, too. Hello, Keith.
Hello. I agree with you, but there's been some good TV as well. There's been some good TV, and you know, possibly more to come. But yeah, Hollywood's is screwed, and it's actually just making me laugh. I have to say, when I've said this a couple of times, you know, it serves them right. I do feel sorry for all the people that work on sets that have nothing to do with all this bullshit, have nothing to do with all the wokeness in Hollywood. Those people who are losing out, I feel sorry for. Okay, I feel sorry for you guys. Move out of California because Hollywood is fucked.
They fucked themselves. The thing that they right. So let me talk about my theory, because I can explain this through gaming and music. Okay, so originally gaming was the cool gaming was arcade gaming. Yeah. Just go in there, you spend your money, blah, blah, blah. And then consoles came along and arcades kind of died out. And that kind of spending the money and getting that $10,000 per day or whatever it was through an arcade kind of disappeared. Yeah, so they killed a revenue model and replaced it with another one. So then the guys then looked at ways of monetizing it to keep it going over. So the first one was Xbox Live. So Xbox Live came across, and then PlayStation Plus came along, and you got those things there to try and keep people in a fixed bit so they could get that additional revenue that they were missing pretty much from the arcades. Music, yeah, music, LPs and albums pretty much started where it started off. Then they moved on to tapes, then they moved on to CDs. The Napster came along and then disrupted the whole thing by like giving people access to illegal MP3s, and then put it onto MP3s. You could buy the MP3s, blah blah blah. Then Spotify came along, kind of ruined it. Yeah, noticed that decent music kind of died out when Spotify and all those kind of things started up. Now we've got a similar thing here, where before you got movies and TV shows and they were making bank off of DVD box sets and Blu-rays and so forth and so on, and VHSs back in the day. So they had that additional revenue, and then they moved over to, then Netflix started up, and then everyone decided that, hey, you know what, this streaming thing's a really good idea. We've got what do you call it, a stream of revenue, blah blah blah, we can be here. They all jumped on that bandwagon, apart from Sony, which is I find ironic. They all jumped on that bandwagon and they lost out, because what they did is they then cut
money.
They cut their revenue. They killed off one of the avenues and stuff like that. So you've got that as an aspect to why this thing's dying off. And now you've got people going, hey, we're not getting the royalty checks that we used to, like when we were broadcasting on, what do they call it, syndicated TV in the States. So on syndicated TV, if you've watched TV in the States, it is shit for adverts. There's about 6 adverts or 5 advert breaks into an episode, say, of Star Trek. It's literally, you have like one bit, boom, 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 and then the adverts, boom, 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 adverts, boom, 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 adverts. It kind of breaks it up and finds it's really difficult to watch. And that's why streaming had an appeal, because you didn't have those adverts. But those adverts were paying towards the TV stuff, which were giving royalties to the actors and to the writers. But when that gets removed and it's just streaming, you have a pot, and you get money from that pot. If no one's watching it in that pot, you get a tiny fraction of what's in that pot. You would get that advertiser money regardless when you had it, and they killed that as a revenue model. So when they're asking for more money and more writers and stuff, it's a lot more difficult now with streaming, and they all jumped in on it thinking that they would be the boss.
I mean, Amazon can afford to pay them more money. I mean, if we're talking about it, they are getting underpaid, and you know, companies rejecting.
Oh God, no, they're not getting underpaid, Keith. They're not getting underpaid, not in the slightest. They're not getting underpaid. $1,800 minimum per week. That's not underpaid.
Well, no, okay, it depends on how
and
you
term shit writers them underpaid. Too. But you know, the better writers getting paid more.
I don't have any sympathy for them. But the studios are definitely making more money than they should do by refusing to release the full figures.
No,
And
no, they're not.
to that argument.
They're not, because if they were doing great, they would release those figures, because those figures then would bump up their stock prices. They are
I don't
terrible figures. They are not releasing them because they are terrible figures. If you had a choice to show good figures versus bad figures, you're going to be showing good figures, aren't you?
Netflix sometimes Netflix comes out with figures like 14 million homes watched this.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that.
But that's because they're good figures. And the other thing too, you've got the big players, and the big players are Netflix and Amazon, aren't they? What are Netflix and Amazon, which Paramount and CBS and Warner Brothers aren't? They're tech companies.
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah, look, you are here. I agree with you. I'm not sure. I hear what they're saying about the figures there, but look, they're going to strike. Fuck it. I don't really care. I actually genuinely, the only people I care about are the people that actually do the grunt work, the cameramen, the staff that do all the sets, building the sets, the studio hands, all of those people, the assistant directors, those people. I feel sorry for them. But the actors and the writers don't care. They're the people that destroyed themselves. And I have very little sympathy for them.
They have bred an air of contempt for their own audience.
Yes.
Michael Jordan had a saying, he goes, even conservatives buy sneakers. Which means try and keep everyone happy, which is the sensible way of doing things. And
Disney Plus has spectacularly backfired. It's weakened and destroyed their sort of key franchises, and it hasn't added to them. It's weakened both Marvel and Star Wars. It's weakened them. I personally think Disney should have made a program, the odd thing for like Netflix or chosen Amazon, done deals with one of the two. We don't need all these streaming services. I think Paramount's going to die, but we can talk about that. I can understand Apple having their own thing, and Apple kind of exists on its own. It doesn't really matter if they're great programs or not. As long as a few people watch them, Apple doesn't care. This is, Apple's going to stay around for a while. And Apple's made some good stuff recently.
See, the thing with Apple is they've got the same mindset that Amazon have got. Keep them inside our ecosystem. Do not let them go anywhere else. We will give them stuff to keep them here with us rather than them disappearing off somewhere else. That's what they want to do. They want to make sure you keep coming back and you keep spending time, and it's the attention economy thing where they want your attention, so it's always in your mind, blah blah blah. You get the idea. So that's how they're working. But you're right. I have no sympathy for these people. They have outputted absolute garbage when it comes to just writing skill wise. They want more people who output absolute garbage in there. That's one of their conditions. Yeah, they're scared of AI, which I completely understand why they're scared of AI. But if you've used AI, it's not going to replace you. It will help you break writer's block. Yeah, because you can ask it and then you can go, because what I tend to, when I use AI, I tend to use it and then it's like, no, I need to correct it. Yeah, because it usually gets something wrong.
The biggest problem, right, Hollywood has had is they are in the business of make-believe, right? You are in the business. Actors are not there as themselves, right? Yes, they're famous actors, but they are famous because they play parts in movie roles. Tom Cruise is not Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise is not Tom Cruise in fucking Top Gun. He is different characters, right? They are similar, but
there's a lot of Tom Cruise in both of those actors.
Yeah, but they are characters. He is an actor. He's there to make believe, right? Since these people seem to think they have a platform, every time they stand up and say some bullshit thing about diversity and blah blah blah, they are not doing their job. Their job is to make us see characters, not to fucking start going on a politics. We look to our politicians for that, not to you guys. You're in the business of make-believe. Do your fucking jobs, right? Writers, you are there to write stories, to write entertainment, not to fucking, well, have a go at all of your customers, because that's what we are, not to, berate them, not to lecture them, right? If you're clever, when you do a couple of episodes of, say, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, could have a slight sort of, inkling of what's going on in the political world. Tell a moral story that could echo things, what like entertainment used to do. We don't need it in every single fucking show that we like, on every single network that we like, that everything's about ideology, everything's about the message, right? And that's what it is at the moment. It is rare to get a story that is just a story, that hasn't got some hidden fucking meaning, right? And no wonder no one feels any kind of... there's no one that feels sorry for them. Not like the last writer's strike, when people were actually... They have created apathy. And that is the most dangerous thing that you can do.
The long and the short of it is, I know that Netflix are building a studio near where I used to live. So near Shepton Studios, near the giant reservoir. They've taken a bit out of that. I'm sure they were doing something with Line Studios, where they film bits of Batman and Star Wars around the corner from me. So you've got all those things going on. They are moving away from Hollywood. There was remember, I think it was like mid 2000s onwards, literally moved everything to Canada. Do you remember that? That is fucking Arrow, Stargate, everything was pretty much moved to bloody Canada because of tax breaks and stuff like that. New Mexico's another one that can move away. I think Hollywood. I don't think the entertainment industry will be dead. I think what's going to happen is Hollywood will die. I think California is dying. I think they've torpedoed themselves. Sorry, while you're there, just come on. I just want to say hello.
Hi, Biffy. I think, look, regardless of how we see it, I think you're right that there is now less money there, because they're in the streaming business, and the streaming business arguably doesn't make as much money as the advertising revenues used to do. We could argue about the semantics a bit, but that's not. Nigel, sorry, I've got to interrupt. Nigel, I can narrate your life in 2 words. It's all right. That's your life, mate.
Anyway.
Sorry, I couldn't help that.
I've given him a ton of videos to sort out and schedule for me, so he's probably sitting there cursing me. Going, could have done this earlier.
I'm on a wind up. But no, look, they are kidding themselves, and it's no bad thing. I'm fed up of being lectured. I just want escapism. I want stories. I want shows that don't lecture me every 5 minutes. And I have to say, we are getting some things. One Piece, for instance, that was great. That was a nice, great bit of escapism. It was silly, it was nuts, and it was fun. And Netflix have done the right thing. And this week they've announced the 2nd season. In fact, they did it yesterday, which is really good. The writers say they've got 12 seasons, and there's certainly enough fucking material for it. But Netflix are indicating 6 seasons.
What was it? What do you call it? What was that one that came out? Cowboy Bebop, which everyone
same people.
Hated. Yeah, they learned their lesson, which I'm amazed
at. Yes, they bloody did.
I'm like, does someone actually learn? I'm just amazed at that idea, because no one's been learning from any of these bloody mistakes that they've been making, and it's quite frustrating to see people not improving. It's like, we cocked up, make it better. But One Piece seems to have worked, and if I'm correct, the guy who created One Piece had a lot of creative input into it. So the Japanese fella who put the whole thing together, he's there to make sure that the ship is steered correctly, which means the favourite thing we always like to do is respect the source material, and you have to respect the source material if the creative is sitting in the room with you. No. We're going to do this. No. Which is good. I might get around to watching One Piece at the moment.
I think you should. I mean, it's one of the only things I've recommended to my dad recently. He enjoyed it. My wife is enjoying it. Everybody I've spoken to has, enjoyed it. I think it was good. It's silly. It's a bit different, but then it's Japanese, based on Japanese manga. So, Japanese manga is kind of like that. But this was good. Music's good. The stories are good. It's positive in a good way. I've mentioned the trans, non-trans character who is not a trans character in the thing. I just can't get past having seen him as a her in a few previous things and recognizing the face. That just messes with my brain. I'm sorry, it just does. I have a thing for faces. I know faces instantly, right? I knew I'd seen. We'll talk about this in a minute. I knew immediately when I saw young Ahsoka this week. I know, where have I seen you? Where have I seen you? I've seen your face before. And then I remembered Avengers. She was young Gamora because she had such a unique face. I have a thing for faces, right? So it bugs the shit out of me because she used to be a girl and now he's a boy, and I respect that. I do, right? But I can't get the face out of my head, and it fucks with me.
I haven't seen the trailer. Nigel usually calls it pretty much as he sees it. Doesn't. It
wasn't nice. Words. It was good. It was good.
The trailer, not the kind of shit trailer. I thought Indiana Jones had a good trailer. It was a shit film. It had a good trailer. I was like, oh, that's a nice trailer.
The middle two episodes are a bit. One of the things that they cover, one of the arcs that they cover in the comics, they decided to cover across two. They used up 2 episodes to cover it. My only criticism is they could have actually condensed that down to 1 episode and maybe expanded other areas a bit more.
But
that's my only criticism of it.
I need to watch it, and then we can have a proper discussion on it. I might be able to watch it next week. But the thing I want to watch at the moment is Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot and Murder in Venice, or whatever it is.
I've heard that was quite good. I liked the first one. The second one was a bit meh. But I've heard the third one is quite good.
Hang on. Biff, I know those cat memes. Yes, I've seen those cat memes. They're quite good.
Well, the young Ahsoka was the girl that played Gamora, younger Gamora in Avengers, and actually she was really good. But we'll go back to go on.
We got Star Trek, and I want to put Star Trek here, and then finish off with the Undiscovered Country. So that's right. So at the moment, you said that you heard some rumblings in regards to what's happening to Star Trek.
So I said just before Strange New Worlds, and I've been saying it for weeks, and I'm saying it on the forums, I've been saying, I wonder how people are going to perceive Strange New Worlds Season 2, having had Picard Season 3, having had something that felt a bit like old school Trek, right? Having had something that was made by people that understood Star Trek, loved Star Trek, and having had all those member berries of nostalgia, right? And having left the door open for a new series, something that actually I wanted to see, with characters that I actually started to like. They turned round Raffi. How the fuck they did that? Because I fucking hated her at the end of Season 2. Worf, yeah. And it worked.
And hang on a second. And he wasn't incompetent. He wasn't there. He taught her lessons, and she grew because he's older and he knows what he's doing, and that worked.
And I got shouted down. Oh, I like Strange New Worlds. I love Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds is brilliant. And then we had Season 2, and the first episode was god awful. Second episode wasn't much better.
Just like to point out, you made me watch that episode, and I hate you for it. There you go.
Yeah, I know. Well, at least I didn't make you watch the musical episode. I could have been really evil. In fact, funny enough, the musical episode is the only episode that made the Nielsen ratings, which is, I think,
morbid curiosity.
Because of the way. Well, yes, I think it was a curiosity thing. Anyway, I watched Season 2, and to say that there was one episode that I probably genuinely quite liked, I hated the fact that they canonized Lower Decks, because I cannot stand Lower Decks, and I don't understand how people like Lower Decks. I've been shot down on forums for saying that. I don't get it. I do not understand. If you're a proper old school Trekkie, how you can like this shit, because it's basically making a mockery of something that I loved. I don't get it, right? Anyway, so cut a long story short, season 2 is now aired. We have a writer's strike on, an actor's strike on, and season 3, which had been pre-ordered, was meant to have started filming. We know that Paramount have run out of money. We know that Strange New Worlds is, even though they've got all the sets, is still a more expensive TV series to produce. It has a lower rating than Picard season 3, and it would appear that the studio's finally gone, we don't have any money. We know that some Star Trek makes money. We know that Picard season 3 made money. We know that every single fucking person out there, bar, the Discovery fans, and whether you like it or not, Discovery fans, I get you. I know you're out there. You're in a minority. Discovery is cancelled because no one was fucking watching it except you. That's the truth. I don't care whether you agree with it or not. It's a fact. They've come to the conclusion they can't make all this Star Trek anymore. So there is a rumor that Strange New Worlds season 3 is going to get cancelled. They're going to use the writer's strike as an excuse, which means that they can get out of contracts, which means they don't have to pay the actors and the writers, which makes sense. So they might make a movie. I suspect they filmed the next episode already, because it would make sense when you finish on a cliffhanger, for things happen to actors when they're off season, that they might get a scar on their face or something. They for continuity, they usually film the next episode. I suspect that they've done that. There's rumors of a movie, but there are now new rumors that Paramount are thinking of getting rid of Secret Hideout altogether. There has been persistent rumors they're not that happy with Alex Kurtzman. I've now heard this from 3 different people, or 3 different videos, and I've seen it on a few forums of people talking about it. I mean, it is just rumor, but it kind of makes sense. They're talking about then bringing in Terry Matalis to produce one Star Trek series. Go back to the model that they used to have, where they produced one season of Star Trek. And, and there was only a small period where they were doing Voyager and Deep Space Nine together. But even then, it was popular and it was going. But one series. I mean, look, if they said tomorrow, I'm going to cancel everything, I'll be gutted about Prodigy, because I kind of liked Prodigy. It was the only thing that, other than Picard season 3, that actually felt like Star Trek. They're going to do, go and make Legacy. Go and make whatever you're going to call it. Enterprise, the new Enterprise, the Adventures of Seven of Nine. I don't care what you call it, but that's where you should do it. You pick a period. You stop doing this future fucking shit that Discovery did that took a huge dump on everything that come before, right? And the other thing that apparently some of the Paramount execs don't like about Strange New World is they now think, because there's such a love for the original series, that by doing what they're doing and introducing people playing, Scotty and things like that, they're taking a dump on the original series. They run the risk of alienating fans rather than gaining new fans. And all these fans that they've got of Discovery, whilst there is a fan base of Discovery, they are kind of toxic. Sorry, they are. Because the minute you say anything against Discovery, they attack you.
Keith, they're not toxic. They're fucking retarded.
Well, they're assholes. They are nasty. They are vicious. I mean, you go into it's great. You want to troll somebody on a Discovery board, just go in there and say one bad thing about Discovery, and they will attack you. They'll call you ists. No word of a lie. I simply there was a message, and I knew what was going to happen. Right? Facebook just fucking suggests forums to me, and it suggested the Discovery forum, and it was happy birthday to one of the guys that's now in Star Trek. He was a Cylon in Battlestar. He goes, happy birthday to him, can't wait to see you in season 5. And I just wrote, yeah, we can wait, hopefully forever. Right? I got called an ist. Literally the first comment, oh, you must be a racist, you're one of these people that hates Discovery, you're an ist. All right. And it was like, oh, you're transphobe. You're this. It's just like, this is Discovery fans for you. And they fucking call the old school fan base toxic. All I say is, I can wait. I can wait forever. I don't want a season 5 of Discovery shit.
Yeah, it's
happening.
Nige.
Welcome to the internet, Cave. No, I love it. I do it on purpose.
So we kind of went off the topic because we had a little discussion before we started, and we were talking about what will happen to Star Trek. And you were under the impression you've got a feeling that it might get sold to Apple because Apple likes their sci-fi. My feeling is that Paramount's going to keep it because it's one of the things that makes Paramount Paramount. If that makes any sense.
It does, but it hasn't done recently. Like, you know, Paramount had to give away Discovery. Season 4,
and this is the reason. This is the reason it fits with the Secret Hideout going. Yeah.
But one tentpole series is not enough to sell a streaming service. Now,
no, but it is enough to bring in investment. It is enough to sorry, I left my Xbox on. I didn't realize it. It is enough to bring in investment. It is enough to show that you're turning the tables. It is enough to get people excited. Yeah.
It's going to go one of two ways, right? I think they get rid of Secret Hideout, which means that they might have to wait till 2025, 2026. But they make the announcement now that this is what they're going to do, right? And that they intend to bring in Terry Messala. It's either going to they're going to fold Paramount Plus because they other than Yellowstone, which they could just, you know, start up a cable network again, bring in advertisement again, and people will tune in to watch that Yellowstone. You make a fucking fortune. Right, and get rid of all the cable stuff, the streaming stuff. It's either that, but Apple have said they would buy Star Trek. But there is no secret about this. If Paramount go, we're selling Star Trek, Apple would be interested, right? Because Apple seem to love sci-fi, and I get it, you know, and it makes sense. I mean, you know, Apple could do that. Personally, I think it's going to end up on Amazon because Amazon saw the figures they were getting for Picard season 3. And if they said, right, we're going to make another series like that, Amazon would probably fucking fund it. So I can see it being on Amazon, but it wouldn't shock me if Paramount sold it. You're right that I don't think it will happen, but it wouldn't shock me if it did. And there is persistent rumors that Apple want it.
I want to move on to this because I want to talk about something I fucking hate you talking about in the podcast. But I'm getting more wear out of that than I thought I would. Star Wars, talking about dead things. Yeah, I saw someone go through the last episode of Ahsoka, and apparently the worst thing about the prequels being Hayden Christensen is the best thing about Ahsoka being a TV show. The only way they could top it is if they put Jar Jar Binks in one of the episodes and everyone goes, fuck me, Jar Jar Binks. What a character. We really like Jar Jar.
Which video did you watch?
Oh, a guy called Disparu.
Right. I watched his video and I like Disparu, but I disagreed with a lot of what he said because he's never watched Clone Wars, and this is the fucking problem, right? And I said it last week, never seen Clone Wars, never seen Rebels, doesn't understand what's going on screen. So he looks at it from a different point of view. And it's the first time I've seen him make a negative video where I'm thinking, you're being a bit negative for the sake of being a bit negative.
Right. So I've seen a chunk of Clone Wars, not all of it. I've seen a lot of Rebels. Actually, maybe all of Rebels. Yeah. I agreed with quite a lot of his comments.
Which ones did you agree with? I agreed with his bits about the
slow fighting from the Ahsoka.
Yes, I agree with
old
that.
Ahsoka. The fact that Hayden Christensen hasn't lost his ability to have a sword fight, and you saw those videos behind the scenes where he can fight. Yeah, the choreography, the fact that the kid seemed much better with the choreography. The fact that she was like kind of, oh no, I don't want to fight, and it's like, no, you need to fight, yeah, because you're a Jedi.
I know that
makes
sense.
More damage, yeah.
No. I'm sorry. This is where I disagree. That made sense. Her refusal to fight at that point made sense because it was old Ahsoka. It was old Ahsoka in the body of young Ahsoka, having left the Jedi, having walked away from fucking Anakin, then Anakin going to the fucking dark side. And that's again the emotional context. You know, that whole thing of her walking away from the Jedi and walking away from Anakin, right, is a big thing. It's why Clone Wars season 7 was so fucking good, because it linked into season 3. It gave you that emotional context that was missing. So there are bits that I agree with, disagree. I agree with the slow fighting. I don't know why the fuck they didn't bring back, and I agree with you here. I don't understand why they didn't bring back the guy from the prequels, the trainer in the prequels, because he was awesome, and he's been on a few people's YouTube channels going, I wish they would call me. I'll be there in a second, and it does miss that. And fucking hell, Hayden Christensen still got it, and it was brilliant. I mean, I'm sorry, I really fucking loved seeing him back on screen. It was almost the Clone Wars version of Anakin for me. There were moments there that really got to me because I was thinking, this is him training her again. There's so much emotion there. There is so much behind it. I thought it was awesome seeing that first battle. I think the kid that they got to play young Ahsoka was fucking brilliant, actually, and she was much better with the lightsaber battles. Then we got the fucking Siege of Mandalore, and that was epic. And then the bit where he kind of runs into the shadow and into the smoke, into the dreamy smoke, and then you get Vader and then him again.
Ah, no.
I liked that. I thought that was awesome.
That was Member Berry bollocks.
Yes,
he should have just come out. Nothing... He should have just come out as Vader. He should just come out as Vader and then fought as Vader for that last fucking bit. Because hang on a second, this will make more sense. Because as Anakin, he's still spry, he's still fast. As Vader, because he's in the suit, he's not as fast. Therefore, she's got a better chance of beating him. Yeah, that would make more sense. I logicked you on that one, didn't I?
Well, no, because I mean, I remember Disbrew not understanding what the world beyond worlds was. Didn't have a clue what that was. World between worlds. He didn't have a clue what that was. I liked when he pushed her back into that, right, and then he comes out, and it's Vader's voice, half Vader's, half Anakin's voice. I liked that. I actually liked the way that whole thing was done. I liked him going into the smoke. Yes, it was a member berry, but it was a member berry that worked for me.
Okay.
Right. But I thought the girl, as I said, I think the girl, they got it, and the bit where she's fighting with the double lightsaber, and seeing Anakin dressed like the Clone Wars Anakin, and it was just like, this was awesome.
Okay, right. So they're the good bits. Then you've got the shit bits back in the real world. So you have got the shit bits back in the real world. So one, he didn't understand that Chopper's an astromech, therefore he has astro navigation, therefore he has astro sensors.
There's a bit, right, and I finally found out, right, it's Dave Filoni that does the voice of Chopper, right? It's Filoni as the voice of Chopper, and he switches into thing, and it's him speaking and muffled, right? There is a bit where there is only one thing that Chopper is saying, right? And there's no other way of deciphering it. And he goes, "Fucked if I know." And there's no other way of deciphering that, right? And you know that's what Filoni is saying. And that just makes me like Chopper even more. Because there's no other way of deciphering that. That's how he sounded. It's Kenny.
He's like Kenny from fucking South Park.
I love Chopper.
Okay, so we've got Ahsoka, who is like dead in the water. So the other thing too is it's Kanan's kid. I have no idea what the fucking Sprout's name is.
Yes.
So instead of doing like he goes, oh, she's out there. I can feel her. Yeah. And it's just like kind of and what it is then Green Lady. She doesn't deserve a space Karen, General Space Karen. General Space Karen. All right. So him sitting there, his eyes should be closed. He should be out there just trying to reach out with the Force, yeah. And she then tries to do the same thing, and nothing happens. And then he should put his hand on her, and she goes, "Ah, yeah, you're right. She is out there. Something like that. Even I fucking know that."
I get why some people are jumping on this. Oh, she's not a Jedi. How does she sense it? Well,
that's all we had to do, put your hand on her, like extend the Force to her temporarily.
You know, she boinked to Jedi and then gave birth to a Jedi kid, and the Jedi kid is projecting the sound to her. What should have happened is the kid should have grabbed her hand and then go listen again. That would have worked. Yeah. So
Yes.
that bit, yes, that was a bit shit. But even without it, I knew what was happening. I knew she could hear it because of him, right? I knew that. That did not bother me as much as some people.
No, they didn't show you that. They did not show you that. That is bad storytelling. That is so bad storytelling. Sorry, there's no two ways about it. The Anakin bits, I can get why you liked and got excited about the Anakin bits. That, to me, I don't agree with it. It makes perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense. But they're trying to sit there and say she's in the water. But what he should have done is he should put, as I said, he should have reached out with the Force and goes, she's in the water, but she's not in the water. And goes, what do you mean? I don't know. And it's like kind of, and then she turns around and goes, we've got someone in the water. Start scanning. The chopper fucking coordinate. Do something. Yeah. Oh, dude, I didn't watch the whole thing, and it's just shit writing. I'm sorry. And he makes a joke. Disbury makes a joke, and I've seen this because I watched another guy called Robot Head where he literally got a scene and he cut out the long pauses because they did long pauses for dramatic effect, but only few actors can pull that off. Alan Rickman was the best at doing the dramatic pause, especially mid-sentence. Yeah, watch the Harry Potter films. Does it beautifully, but they can't. And it's just... it's crap. Sorry. Conclusions. Crap.
I don't think it is. I kind of had a feeling... I knew what was going on, right? And I think... Look, you've got to take...
No, you don't.
Of these videos.
No, I know what you're going to say. You have to take in the fact that you haven't seen Rebels and you haven't seen Clone Wars.
No, I think some of these videos...
No, hang on a second.
I think...
If you're clever, Keith, you write knowing that people haven't seen them and you introduce these things to people. You have an opportunity then to do other things too. You could have had a live action Caden at the bloody beginning and in flashbacks and stuff. You could have made it much more exciting. Sorry.
But based upon Disbro's nitpicking, right, you could do exactly the same to the original Star Wars movies. You could. There are moments like that in the original Star Wars movies. He is making a negative video because that's where he gets. It's popular, right? And I agree with some of what he said about the first two episodes. I agree with the slow fighting. I agree with every part of that. I don't think she's properly choreographed. She's too damn slow. And, you know, there are moments where you can see Hayden Christian holding back, right? Whereas Hayden Christian's still got that super fast fighting, and he's still got it, which is marvelous after fucking 15, 16 years. It's incredible. And he's still got that awesome fighting style. That bugged the shit out of me. The fighting is shit, right? They should have brought back the original choreographer, right? But I don't think that bit between the kid and the mum is as bad. It's not good, but it's not as bad. But it's...
Keith, you watched that and you had to fill in the gaps. You weren't told. And it's not like it's a fucking Chris Nolan TV series, yeah?
Yeah, I agree with you. But I don't think it is.
And that is... No, because if you're fucking up on that basic stuff, yeah? If you're fucking up on that basic stuff...
But there are moments that in things that we've loved. There's moments like that, you know. It's absolutely true. You can take Indiana Jones out of the thingy, and all those events would still have.
That's not the same, Keith. That's not the same. That is not the same.
How is it?
That is not the same because in Indiana, I'm trying to think of a like we'll get to Star Trek, but you have things. So like in Star Trek, yeah, he puts the brilliant patch on his shoulder. You see him put the brilliant patch on his shoulder. You see him walk away with this weird plaster on his shoulder as he walks away. And then when it gets towards the end, it goes, Bones, don't worry. Spock's tracking us. I've got a brilliant patch on my shoulder. We'll get rescued. Yeah? Because they thought through the storytelling. They didn't tell you until you got to that point. You saw it. You wondered what it was. It paid off. They're not doing that. They can't.
But what I'm saying is, has Star Wars not always been guilty of that in certain aspects? Has it not always had moments like that? Maybe not quite as bad as that. Look, I agree.
All right, so let's go back to
if I was writing that scene,
original Star Wars. Okay, so so sad bastard. Yeah, you've got Luke at home with the droids. He's flying around his whatever it is, T-58 or thingy he used to bullseye womp rats in the thingy. His mate, what's his mate? Is it Wedge? No, it's not Wedge.
Briggs, Wedge Antilles.
No. Wedge
Biggs.
Antilles
Another one.
is Biggs. Yeah, Biggs, who's the one who was who went to the academy. Yeah, he said him and Biggs used to hit womp rats in Beggar's Canyon, which were no bigger than 2 meters. So he's already done that. So that's been set up in that. Yeah, you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's then introduced into the Force. He's done the thing where he's done a little bit of training. He reaches out with the Force, boom, boom, boom. He blocks the shots. Obi-Wan dies in front of him. He hears Obi-Wan's voice in his head as a ghost. He says, "Go," and he goes. Yeah, and then when you get to the Death Star trench, he's already done it. He's got the experience. He knows that Obi-Wan's there. He has the Force all set up, all paid off. Boom, boom, bang goes the Death Star. Yeah, we're not getting any of that in that story.
True.
There's no
I can't.
80s films.
I can't argue with you.
80s and 70s films for that were brilliant. I can't remember. I was watching some other films and I'm watching how these things get set up all the way through, and they don't seem to bother with it anymore. It's called the rule is Chekhov's gun. If you show a gun, in Act 1, you've got to shoot it by Act 3. Everyone feels cheated.
I don't think it was the most amazing episode, and I certainly don't think it saved Star Wars. I enjoyed the bits with Anakin. I know what you're going to say next about Ahsoka, where she's missing the band, and what the fuck was that? Because that was just weird.
You know what? That is out of all the things they've got, that is the fucking least of their worries. The long pauses in conversation are probably more worrying.
The biggest problem with this episode 5 is that the young actress has shown up, Rosario Dawson, as the older actress by a country mile.
Yep.
Because what that did is that took me straight back to the Clone Wars, and I went, wow. And then I watched her again, and then her slow fighting, and it's not like, okay, I know she's like 60 odd at this point, right? She's, quite old at this point, but she's a fucking Jedi, and she should be able to move quite quickly. Or she's Jedi, not Jedi. She's a Force user. It is not the series. I disagree with Star Wars theory. I love your Star Wars theory. You are really enthusiastic, and you slate Disney Star Wars, and I know you're so
right. Hang on a second. Rosario Dawson's 44.
No, but Ahsoka is not.
I know Ahsoka is not.
Ahsoka has got to be.
Okay, so the other thing too is Ahsoka should be dead because she drowned in the water.
No, she was in the world between worlds, right?
No. Because you don't know if she was in the world between worlds or she was fucking hallucinating.
That was the world between worlds. When she's fighting Anakin, that is the world between worlds. We've seen it. It's in Rebels.
How did she get there?
World between... So what? Right. Again, there is precedent for this in the Clone Wars. We didn't see it, but I think it's going to come back because I don't think that's it. It's going to be the owl that took her in. She has a connection to the...
Hang on a second. So the owl took her in, and we didn't see the owl. And the owl wasn't set up. And this wasn't communicated to anyone.
It was set up, but not in this.
Nobody
I think you're going to get...
So far,
right.
Hang on, hold on. No one has referenced the world between worlds.
Can I put a pin in? Can I put a pin in this argument till the end of the series? Because if they don't explain it, if they don't show the sister or the father or the brother at all, or if there's no hint to them, then I'll agree with you, right? But I think that's what saved her. She was in the world in between worlds. I don't care what anyone says, she was, because that's what we saw in Rebels.
Second. Hold on. If you wanted to do it right, Ray Stevenson's character should have knocked her over the thing, and then you should have seen just something go whoosh, and swoop down.
Yes, or a wing.
But why didn't they do that then, Keith?
Because I think we're going to. Because I think they're holding it back. I think you're going to see it.
No, you're not supposed to hold it back. You're supposed to set it up as a description.
I'm not saying that you're wrong.
In bloody
I'm not
Star
saying you're wrong, right? But to sit and go, she was underwater for 8 hours. How did she survive? She wasn't underwater for 8 hours. She was in the world between worlds, right? How she got there?
But no one knew that, and nobody's explained that.
That's not true.
As far as non-Rebels watchers
are. Right. This is where I agree with you, right? This is where I agree with you. No one knew that who'd never watched Rebels or Clone Wars. People who have watched Clone Wars and Rebels how understand, having seen that episode with the father, the sister, and the sister dying, sacrificing herself to save Ahsoka, imbued Ahsoka with certain powers. That is explained in the Clone Wars, right? What they should have done is shown you that on screen. They haven't done. I think that's for a reason.
Really, Keith?
Yes.
He makes my
I
point
think that's for a reason. I think that's for a reason. But again, this is where I have a criticism of Ahsoka, because you have to have seen this to get that, right? To understand that, right? But she was in the world in between worlds. There is no denying that, having watched Rebels. And it's Filoni's invention, right? That's where she was. That is obvious, having seen Rebels and Clone Wars. That is obvious. How she got there...
Not many people... I
agree.
I don't think the role between
I agree with you. And this is what I'm saying last week. This is what I was saying last week. I agree with you here.
It's bad storytelling, Keith.
Yes, it is. Because they should have shown it more visually. But he is making this... They have narrowed their audience and narrowed their audience understanding, because have you not seen Rebels or Clone Wars or both? You have no fucking idea what's going on right now, and you absolutely have every right to ask those questions, right? But I am answering those questions. I have answers for those questions, but I agree with you that it should have been shown, or you should have had some kind of note. I agree that the kid should have put his hand up and gone, held Hera's hand and gone, listen again. I do not think Ahsoka's perfect. I think Hera is massively miscast, way too fucking tall, too many facial features. They should have got somebody that looks like Natalie Portman, or no offense, a black woman to play, because that's her facial features. It's smooth. She's not that fucking tall. Yes.
Keira Knightley.
Although Keira Knightley, I think, is too tall. But she definitely has a better facial feature. I'm sorry, the woman that's playing Hera is totally wrong, right? And I agree. The kid should have put his hand up and gone, listen again, Mum. And it should have been obvious what he was doing. I agree that we should have seen some white flash when she fell off the cliff, right? Or, I agree again.
Keira Knightley's 5'7". She's not that tall.
Okay. But what's his face was much taller than Hera. In the cartoons, Hera was quite not short, but she's not fucking
she was
6
short.
foot something.
No, you're right. She was short. She was shorter than Caden, and she was just slightly taller than bloody Ezra. I think might be wrong on that one. Anyway, that's. I agree. Quickly cover Foundation, because I want to get to Star Trek. I want to get to the nice thing.
Yeah, well, the Foundation was good. In fact, Foundation subverted my expectations in a good way, right? And it did it quite well, because I was sitting there and I had theories going through. I thought, oh, hang on, right? Is this the whole fucking terminus getting destroyed? Is this fucking mind projection? Because we've been seeing that throughout the series. It's been trying to tell you that all throughout the series. Is that what they've done? Nope, they didn't. They really did destroy terminus. That was the first thing, right? They really did destroy terminus, but not all the people. In fact, all the people were saved. They were sucked into the thing, and
they were sucked off.
Sucked into the thing. Shut up. Sucked into the thing. Harry's survival was brilliantly explained. It turns out that Gale knew the danger all the way through, and it shows you from a different aspect how she did it, and she tricked the fucking hag, the witch, into doing it. And that's how Harry survived. They do change the future, because what's her face, her daughter dies at the end, sacrificing herself, which was kind of good. And then Harry and her go back into stasis, which was quite good. Demerzel decants all three of the Cleons, because one she kills, the other one gets killed by Day, the nasty one, the Lee Pace one, gets killed by I've forgotten his name. He gets killed anyway in a brilliant way. And then Dawn basically goes off with Day's missus. So and Demerzel lets him kind of go. The explanation for Demerzel was kind of good because you get her story is tragic in some ways, but at the same time you want her to die. But it set up a third season that's going to be interesting. It set up an interesting third season. I enjoyed it. I thought the ending was good. There was tragedy. There was everything there, and they wrapped it up in a good way. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think if you're bored of something, Foundation season 2 was pretty good. Kind of wavers in the middle a bit, but it was quite good.
When Slow Horses returns to Apple TV, and they get through, I think like half the episodes, I'll watch it then.
It was. You're going to be annoyed by Gail Dornick, although she sounds more South African in this. She doesn't really get rid of her accent in this, but actually her tale throughout this has been pretty good, and the twist is good. The twist was good, and how Harry stayed alive was good. And there was a few jokes in there that were good. And the two Harrys are now, you have the two Harrys and you have the two Foundations. So we have the second Foundation set up, which is mostly a secret, except the other Harry is aware. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. And Demerzel has the fucking, what can we call it? The thing. So she has a link in as well. So it's going to be interesting. But look, it wasn't bad TV. It's worth watching. If you've got Apple TV, watch Foundation. It was pretty good. Okay. So you really want to talk about Star Trek 6?
Yes.
Not the best movie. It's not as good as Star Trek 2. It's not. It's not.
Fucking is.
The world disagrees with you. Like, I think it's the second best Trek movie.
No, I think it's the best. I really think it's, after watching it, because I've watched all of these ones pretty much in a row, and seeing them one after the other. I think it's the best. It's the story is very Tom Clancy, feels a bit Hunt for Red October. It's got lots of intrigue in it. It uses things. Bird of Prey, my favorite Star Trek original series. Spaceship's the bad guy in it. It's so good.
Look, General Chang is an iconic bad guy. He's not calm. It doesn't have that moment where, you see, to me, the best Star Trek moment is where Kirk goes, "I don't like to lose," and then he flips open the thing.
Oh,
Kirk to Spock.
No. Hang on a second. Hang on. No, because that's there's an equal scene in there. There is an equal scene in there where Spock and Kirk are having the conversation over the table, and he's like kind of, they're dying. Kirk goes, "Let them die. Yeah, don't trust them." That's conversation. They've got a table. They've got this gulf between the two of them. The character movements between it, it's like kind of, you got the bit where Kirk is dead against this from the start. Yeah, he's dead against it. He gets to oh fuck, what's the gulag on the prison on the Klingon moon? Rurapente. So he's sitting on Rurapente, laying in bed with Rurapente with bones, and he turns around and goes, "You know what? I'm wrong." Then later on, goes and sees Spock. Spock's laying down, and he turns around and goes, "You know what? I think I was wrong."
It's funny. We had a brief off. I want to say something because I do the same thing. We had a brief conversation before we came on air, and Gareth was saying, "I loved it so much I was quoting the film." Do you know the bit? I know that fucking film quote for quote. I even fucking quote the bit where they're going into Klingon space to rescue Kirk because they know that Kirk's outside the zone, and you've got the bit where the Klingon is challenging. Which, by the way, Universal Translator existed by that point, so that was stupid. And Uhura is meant to speak. Hang on. Uhura is meant to speak so many fucking languages.
Right,
you don't speak Klingon?
Hang on a second. Hold on.
But I quote that Klingon, is what I was trying to say.
But Keith, the idea was if they used the Universal Translator, they would know. So they needed to have it.
Yes.
So it was completely
But
organic.
Uhura was meant to be a linguistic. She's meant to speak all these fucking languages.
I get that, but it's just all funny with them, although with their books out.
Yeah, no, it's a funny scene, and I can quote the fucking. I don't know a word of Klingon. Well, I know a few words, but I remember those nerds words, Rin. And I'm sitting there quoting the fucking thing. I could quote that bloody movie word for word. Look, I love Star Trek 6. I objectively, I think it's slightly. I don't think it's better than Star Trek 2. I'd hear an argument it's as good as Star Trek 2. I don't think it's better than Star Trek 2. It is an argument. When I watch Star Trek 6, it's probably my favorite. When I watch Star Trek 2 again, I go, no, I love this. Nicholas Meyer directed Star Trek 2 and 6. And that is why the thing about Star Trek 6, which you might have noticed or not noticed, is that the Enterprise and the Excelsior are much more militaristic. And this was something that Gene Roddenberry really didn't like. Because if you watch Star Trek 5, you kind of you can see that Next Gen influenced the bridge set of Star Trek 5. And then it kind of went back to a dark, black, miniaturistic set, and there was bunk beds as opposed to crew quarters. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. No, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Star Trek 6 isn't a really good movie. It's a brilliant movie. It is up there with my favorite. I think it's joint favorite with Star Trek 2.
First thing I noticed in it, because I know that the destruction of Praxis is supposed to be equivalent to Chernobyl for the Klingons. The Klingons are really fucking Russian in this.
Yes,
they were so Russian.
Yes,
it was unbelievable. They were unbelievably Russian, with the Gulag and the show trial and just everything. It was mad. And the fact that they wanted to come across as more cultured than they were. And I did like the fact that there's a bit towards the end where Chekhov is turned around and goes, look, we all thought like that. Good job we don't get arrested for our feelings, because the experiences they've had. Number 3, Search for Spock, prime example of them not really liking Klingons. Yeah. But at the same time too, you've got David Warner's character, Chancellor. Oh fuck, I want to say Martok, but that's Deep Space Nine.
Goran.
Yeah, you've got him. And he's such a good character. The guy plays it well. He knows that, he knows that this is difficult. He knows this is tough for both sides. And he's desperate for peace. And he knows that Spock understands him. And he's trying to win Kirk over. Yeah.
He's Gorbachev. And Nicholas Meyer admits it. That's why he was called Goran. And I know there's some connection to Gorbachev with that. But he was based on Gorbachev. He is Gorbachev. You're absolutely right about that.
And it's great. And then you've got the Klingon that's with Chang, and I can't remember his name now. Who's nice, who's actually genuinely nice to the guys on the thingy. He turns around. It's like kind of Chang makes a double-sided comment about meeting Kirk, to which he replies, because it's sincere admiration. Yeah. And you can see the guy's being genuine. Yeah, it's like, dude, if we met in combat, it'd be fucking awesome, because we love that shit. Klingons always up for a ruck. But then again, we just met you normally, so we can talk about having a fight. We like that shit too. And it's so good because the characters aren't all evil, and they aren't all good, and it's very muddy, and there's not really a kind of good guy, bad guy. They all come from understandable perspectives. You can see why Chang's doing it, because it's like they've got the sense of honor. They need to sort things out. Then they play with the rules of it. So it's like kind of, so you got a Klingon bird of prey that can fire while cloaked, because that's a clear rule that's been established in Star Trek. Yeah, and even Spock turns around and quotes bloody, not Sherlock Holmes the books, because I don't believe it's in the books, but the films with what's his mesh back from the black and white era, where you remove everything that is highly unlikely. Whatever it's left over, no matter how improbable or impossible, is most likely the outcome. And it's like kind of boom, got that. You've got
and the old Vulcan. The old Vulcan proverb: only Nixon can go to China. Hang on.
He's taking the piss there. He really is taking the piss there.
Actually,
and you got Kim Cattrall. And the thing with Kim Cattrall, I would have preferred it if that character was Savick,
It was going to be. Gene Roddenberry stopped it. It was going to be Savick, and Gene Roddenberry didn't want to wanted to preserve the character's legacy, which I kind of understand. And actually, it wouldn't have made sense, Savick.
No, it would have made sense. It was a very logical thing to do. Let the Klingon die, get us in a position. There's logic behind that. That's how they operate. They don't operate like we do.
Yeah, but I don't think I think Kim Cattrall played that part excellently.
Oh, she did.
I think we would have lost that part. Oh dear, I have a very scared dog down here. I would have lost that. No, I was going to be Savick. It was intended to be Savick. Gene Roddenberry stopped it. So I know that to be a fact. But again, you're talking about all of this. There was depth to this one that had been lacking.
Oh, beautiful. Really good. Got lots of the Enterprise. It was just... I love the fact that finally you got to see the Excelsior get into a fight, because you saw that in... what do you call it? In Search for Spock. And it's like, I wonder what it looks like in a fight. Yeah, and it's like they've got Sulu in charge of it. It starts off with that big explosion, and that's when this is where I found out something genuine in like seamanship or naval combat or whatever you want to call it. Where if you do have a big wave, you turn into the big wave, so you can reduce the effect and you ride up over the top of it. Dude, it's like. All right, just one thing. There's a comment. Where was it? Right, so we've got to add. I can't remember the character's name now. I bloody looked it up. It's like Misha or something. The actress who plays Iman, Iman who plays the shapeshifter. She's going into the list of.
She was a famous model at the time.
Yeah, she's going into the list of Star Trek Totty. That's what I'm saying.
Well, she has to be. She was some famous actress and model, supermodel at the time. And I think this was her first sort of big acting part. Sorry, I've got a dog very scared of the rain and it's pissing down here. She was an actress or supermodel become actress at the time. And I've forgotten her name.
It's Iman. She was one person has her name, Iman.
Well, she was brilliant in this.
Given the fact she's a model, did a really good job.
And I loved that bit in Rurapente. Rurapente. Quite this film. She was good. The whole bit where he's about to reveal the dastardly plan and then Kirk gets beamed out.
He couldn't have given
no. It's like you want to go back and because absolutely not. Absolutely not. Couldn't you have waited 5 more seconds? I love this film. You were talking about all the Shakespearean quotes. Now,
hang on a second. The Shakespeare, right? Hold on. It's not the Shakespearean quotes. It's the trope or cliche that came.
No. I'm going to talk about the quotes that he actually says. He quotes mainly Hamlet, but he does quote Julius Caesar. Right now, there is a line in Julius Caesar, and Julius Caesar says it on stage, and he goes, "I am constant as the northern star." This is Caesar basically saying, I am all powerful. And he goes, I am as constant as northern star. And et tu, Brute, because Brutus stabs him in the fucking back. Right? So when Chang goes, I am as constant as the northern star, that was on purpose. Because what was happening was, little did he know that Spock and McCoy at that point in time are working on the metaphorical dagger that was going to become his undoing. And that's exactly what happens in Shakespeare. So not only did I like the fact that he was quoting Shakespeare, it was on point Shakespeare. That's what I like. The thing that I had to study Shakespeare at school, all of us did, but I studied
We all
Julius
did,
Caesar.
Keith. We all hated it too.
I kind of liked Julius Caesar and Macbeth because they were both plays that I knew really well.
No, Macbeth is the best Shakespeare play. Full stop.
I got really good scores for those because I'd done them. But Julius Caesar, I like the fact that he was using on point Shakespeare. I like the fact that line was absolutely intended. and it's what it signified, because that is the point where Chang lost. Right, the minute he goes, I'm as constant as the Northern Star. You're losing.
Well, right.
Bye bye.
Not just that. He also quoted Chamberlain before he started.
Yeah.
No peace.
Yes,
well, he paraphrased. He said no peace in our time. And he also quoted Hitler too at the dinner table, and that was great. Where they're all sitting around the dinner table.
Yeah.
Hitler, breathing. He goes, Adolf Hitler. And it's like, well, yeah.
So what's that?
And
you just see Spock going,
oh. The dirty look that Spock shoots him. It's like, you fucking didn't you? You fucking didn't you? You bastard.
Yeah. And I like that. Here's something, right? Did you watch the normal cut? Because
I believe
there's a bit where there is a deleted scene, right? That's quite famous, and it's back in the director's cut. When you see all of the ambassadors, including the returning Klingon ambassador,
there's a trail for a Rocher.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
I know what you're talking about.
With these Rocher, you're really spoiling us.
Yeah. So they're all the ambassadors there and talking to the president of the Federation. They then leave. The deleted scene continues straight on after that, and then in walks General West. And General West is Rene Auberjois, or Odo, and he goes through this rescue thing. Now, at the end, the Klingon, who is not a Klingon, who gets shot, the assassin who gets shot, who has the mask ripped off, but you don't really see his face, the person turns around and goes, that's General West. That was Rene Auberjois, and it was him as a guy on the floor.
Oh,
so if you watch the quotes, it is him. But you have to see the deleted scene. It's available on YouTube. General West in Star Trek 6 was played by, and it is him lying on the floor in the Klingon mask. That's him in Klingon makeup. There you go. That's a fact.
Yeah,
I like the ending of the film. I think it's a perfect send-off. I think the music to this is some of the best. I love Star Trek 6. You are right. I just don't. I don't know if it is better. I don't think it's better than Star Trek 2. I can hear an argument it's on par with Star Trek 2, but I still love Star Trek 2 as well. I love them both.
As a story, it feels so much richer. They are two great films.
There's definitely more depth to it in places, I think, and there is the whole connection with Russia and Gorbachev. I can get that. I don't know. It's difficult. If I had to pick, you see, if we were rating the films, I'd want to put them both at number one for slightly different reasons. I wish that had been the last time we'd seen Kirk in film.
We've got that one next week, Keith.
I know.
All they had to do, Keith, all they had to do is for Picard to go to the bottom, look for Kirk's body, and it had vanished.
Yeah.
And then he tells everyone that he met Captain Kirk, and everyone's like, bullshit, Picard. Bullshit. And it's like, kind of, I have a little faith, blah, blah, blah. That would have worked. It would have just vanished because we could have turned around. He wouldn't often help. He turns up and he helps out fucking Enterprise captains every so often, like a weird Ghost of Christmas Past sort of thing.
But you see, I know that Terry Mathias kind of wants to canonize Bill Shatner's books. That he's admitted that's why you see Kirk's body there. He admits that that's there for a reason. We need Star Trek Legacy. We need fucking hell, Paramount. Just fucking make Star Trek Legacy. This man should be in charge of Star Trek. He should be in charge of fucking Star Trek. How can you not see that? Anyway, sorry, rant over. I love Star Trek 6, as I said. I apart from the Huru bit with Rua Penthe, although it is funny when they're sitting there reading the books and Scott is trying to... It is a funny scene, but it's the only thing in the movie that bugs me slightly, because Uhura was always meant to be somebody that could speak various languages, and in the original series, she can't. Although Klingon wasn't invented until the films, she is supposed to be speaking Klingon, so she knows Klingon. It's Klingon. It's like it's like, you know, okay, she might, you know, if she come across like Dax or someone like that, I couldn't speak their language. I kind of understand that, but it's the Klingons.
Yeah, this is the bit you're talking about here. Yeah. Sorry, taking the sound off.
That is Rene Auberjonois. There you go. There he is.
Now, do you know what would have been even better? Is if it had been a changeling. That would have been brilliant. Oh my god! It just like dissolves into like a puddle, and you're
well,
like,
there is a changeling in this. There is a fucking changeling in it.
She's not a changeling. She's a chameleoid shapeshifter, not changeling. Sorry, nerd alert.
Slightly the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing. You know, if it turned into that fucking ugly thing from Red Dwarf, that would have been even better. You know, can I see you in your true line? It just turns into that thing from Red Dwarf. That would have been amazing.
There's certain bits like when they get into the what do you call it? They get into the prison and Kirk has a fight pretty much off the bat. And McCoy, I don't know. I'm hoping he's taking the piss. He goes, "You've got him, you've got him, Jim." Like that, he's getting the shit kicked out of him. Then I thought that was funny. And then it's the bit where he's like, kind of, he got off with the supermodel rather than the hairy gorilla person in the lift. And then Kirk is like, he's like, looks at, he does this look where it's like, kind of, fuck, I got off with that.
No, there's a bit where McCoy reminds him of it, and he's just there's a bit where McCoy directly points it out. And Kirk says, "Yeah, I'm trying not to think about it."
I love that. That's great.
There is a bit where Kirk it's directly pointed out to him that he had a little bit of fun times with it the night before.
Oh, that was the other thing. Right. Oh God, Kim Cattrall's character. I can't remember her bloody name for love nor money. Do you think she slept with Spock? It kind of hints at it. It hints at it.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I can't remember her name. What was her name? Hang on, I will tell you in 2 seconds. Valris. Lieutenant Valris.
We'll call her Valerie.
Valerie.
So, do you think Valerie's just easy?
It's Valeris. She played Lieutenant Valeris, and it was meant to be Savak. But as I said,
and that's the other that was the other thing I didn't bring up when we were talking about the search for Spock. Yeah, he goes through Ponfar. Yeah, and he's left alone with Savik.
Yeah, that's implied. That is implied. And Gene Roddenberry was asked about that, and again,
he said he just relieved him. Oh, I'm sorry.
But no, I liked the more militaristic feel in some ways of Star Trek 6, but it is a very different feeling to Star Trek 5. The ship feels very different, but I did like it. It's the most quotable of all the films. By a long way. There's just so many quotes, like, right from the beginning, where Chekhov goes, "Guess who's coming to dinner," which is brilliant.
Or he puts the thing on, because if the shoe fits, wear it. And then you got him and Valeris, and they're like, kind of, they're looking really smug, and Spock's like, and they look at the guy's feet and went, "Fuck."
Yeah, that was funny.
And then Scotty eating his lunch, and he's like, "I can hear something in the fucking vent over there." I think it's done really. That's what I want from my Star Trek stories. When you want to do like political intrigue, that's the thing I want.
And again, that was done. This is what I mean. Going back, not going back to my rant at the beginning, but Star Trek 6 is a play on absolutely on Russia. Goran is Gorbachev. The Klingon Empire in this is the USSR. And it makes a play, and it talks for peace. And it does it very, very well because it tells a good story. And yes, it does have a political message in it, a political message of peace.
And I think out of that, it's done really well.
Exactly, because it tells an entertaining story.
Because it's done from so many different perspectives. There are the people on both sides trying to stop it, and then there are people on both sides trying to make it work. And there are the people on both sides that kind of, this is a shit idea. I don't think we should, yeah? And you put it all together, and it's, dude.
Really, yeah, and Kirk's whole speech, you're right about... I mean, okay, the talk between Kirk and Spock, just after they've had the meeting with Starfleet, and Kirk's like, you know, and you said this, where Spock goes, you know, they're dying, Jim, let them die. You know, and you understand Kirk's pain, you understand Kirk's hate,
and you understand Spock too,
which then makes that scene at the end where the daughter of Goran and Kirk, and she says, "You've restored my father's faith," and Kirk turns around and says, "You've restored my son's." That is such a powerful moment, and again, it is political. It is ideology. If you break it down, but
it's done well. It's done on both sides, not just one side of propaganda.
Exactly. And so all the people that go, oh, you know, Star Trek's always had it.
It's always been political. Yeah, but Star Trek has done in your shit fucking way.
But it's always been done well, and Star Trek 6 is a prime example of it. And this is what we mean, you know. The trouble is these days, all these people that don't get why we hate Discovery, all these people having a go at Az, who had a Az from Hill versus Babyface because of this whole thing about pronouns in fucking.
No, Keith, it wasn't about that. That was clipped out
of
context.
That's what I'm about to say. I know.
Keith, I watched the live stream.
Hang on. Let me finish. Let me finish. I know that it means more than that. I know what he's actually having to go on.
No. Because I know you didn't, because you didn't tell me about what incited it. What incited him to go off on that rant?
Because of all of this crap.
No.
In the
what
past.
Incited him? There was a bit in the game that incited him to go off about the rant and have.
Oh, you're talking about the clone that was a man. She was a clone of a man.
That's when he lost it.
Yes.
That was when he lost it. It had nothing to do with the pronoun bit at the beginning, which everyone has been going after because they're fucking context free.
That was what I was. I know what you're talking. But what I'm trying to say is people don't understand this because people are. It's the TikTok generation. People watch 1-minute YouTube shorts now. They don't see the context. That's what I was getting to. I know what pissed him off. It pisses me off. And, you know, it makes me... It's why I had a problem with One Piece when actually it's really good. But I shouldn't have had a problem, really, with it. But I do. And it's because it's everywhere. It's all the time. And people just don't get that. People don't understand why I'm bugged by Lower Decks. Because Lower Decks makes a mockery of a brilliant franchise. And Star Trek 6 is probably the pinnacle of that.
Right, so
I love that film.
you haven't listened to the beginning. I doubt you've listened to the beginning of our podcast when we have our Starfield special. Because Nigel and Baxter go off and talk about Starfield for like 20 minutes straight, and I sit there patiently, and then I pull a book out, and then they look at me while I pull the book out, and then they go, "What's your opinion, Gareth?" I think the game's soulless because it feels soulless.
I've heard this,
and if you play Fallout 4, and I know people didn't like Fallout 4. It had something. They had a character. The whole world had personality.
No, you've proven that. You've more than proven that. You know, funny enough, without going into huge game split, I was tempted to get an Xbox S and start playing this game, and then I saw what people were saying, and I went, "No, I'm not going to enjoy this because I know." And you've just said what you and I agree quite a bit on games. And I'm glad that you've said that. So I haven't done.
Have you played Fallout 4, Keith?
No.
Fallout 4.
Hang on. No, that's a lie. I've played it with you. so I know what it is. I know
That's
what it
demonstrating
is.
a shadow play thing.
But you weren't just no. You played it with me when you first got it, because you were showing me building the bases, and you were showing me all the stuff, and I knew nothing about Fallout, and you showed me the beginning of the game. I know what it is, but at the time I just had a new girlfriend, and I knew that I'd get divorced before I got married if I started playing that game, because I know what I'm like with fucking Zelda. Talking of good things or bad things or whatever, have you seen the first official gameplay videos this week of Spider-Man 2, where they show you switching between the two characters, which you can do? You're wrong and you're right. I think you're going to be wrong and you're right. I think you can switch between the players freely when you're a lot of the game. You're not going for the missions. You're going around like fighting crimes and doing all that shit, right? You freely swap between the two characters. Any moment you can do that. You're only set as the characters in certain missions, and so my fear is that you're going to be playing more as Miles than you are Spider-Man. And so when I say you're wrong and you're right, your fear is warranted in the main missions, but it's not that you can when you're doing all the other shit that you do, like chasing after pigeons, fucking solving all the crimes, finding all the fucking.
I was going to say fucking pigeons then. Chasing after pigeons and fucking them. But I can't remember that last Spider-Man game.
The new map looks great. I can't fucking wait for that game. I'm so looking forward to it. I hope it doesn't disappoint. I really do. But I enjoyed. I enjoyed Spider-Man 2, which I've been playing again recently, and I've enjoyed that quite a lot actually. I enjoyed 1. I finished that, and I played 2. On the PS5.
Miles Morales.
Yeah. Yes, that's one.
Because it's technically it was an add-on. Spider-Man 2 is the one that's coming out. So you fucking. How did you get hold of Spider-Man 2, Keith? Tell me. Send a copy my way now. If you've got Spider-Man 2, I need it.
Well, you're gonna have. Yeah, I need it too. No, I haven't got a copy of it. You know what I mean? It is on pre-order. I admit it is on pre-order. But I'm glad you said that about Starfield, because you are not the only one to have said that, and I'm decided that I'm not missing out.
It just, I don't know what it is. It's like the first season of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, where it felt like it had a universe and no one fucking lived in it.
And I know what
like
I know what you mean by that. So that doesn't interest me at all. And talking of that,
they might fix it.
Is there any Doctor Who news this week?
Oh no. So I've got this theory that lots of writers and creatives are not happy with what happened to Doctor Who, and I keep sending Keith clips. So there was one from Staged with Michael Sheen, where Michael Sheen was like, kind of, I was cast as a Doctor, and then they changed their mind all of a sudden. That was one thing, and then the other one I watched was, I don't know what TV show it was from, but it was, who's the guy who plays the bastard in Game of Thrones?
Oh, it was a recent TV show, that was. Because it was him, with the Master, the current fucking era,
and he's playing. It looks like he's playing some kind of psychopath because he's got a hammer in his hand, and
it was a recent TV program on the BBC.
And he looks at the guy who played the Master in the Jodie Whittaker series, and he turns around and goes, "I know the 13th Doctor wasn't everyone's cup of tea," and I'm just like, I think even the guy who plays the Master agrees too, because he was like, "You can't say that about my previous job," but he's like, kind of, "No, fuck it, do it."
So there's rumors going around that Russell Brand. Sorry, we shouldn't talk about him at the moment.
Not yet.
Russell, what's his face? Russell Davies has scrubbed. What's his face? Has wiped out Jodie Whittaker. I don't think he's done that. But my argument here is, right, everybody. Look, I hate The Timeless Child, but they never fucking explained it. Right? No. And what's more, the universe is dead, right?
She never fixed it or put it back.
She never fixed that.
Matt Smith restarted the universe at the end of his first series, didn't he?
Yes. So you kind of got to erase some of it, or you've got to fix it. But look, the reason, and I'm saying this to these people, right? The reason so many people hate The Timeless Child, it's nothing to do with misogyny. It's nothing to do with Jodie Whittaker. You can like Jodie Whittaker, right? There are people out there that like Jodie Whittaker. I get it. I understand it, right? I wasn't a big fan of her in the end. I liked the actress before. Don't like her that much now, right? But my biggest problem with the fucking Doctor Who was the Timeless Child took a great big shit on 55 fucking years of history, right? William Hartnell was the first Doctor. 55 years of history says that, right? And you wanted to make a name for yourself by altering all that, and then you don't explain it. So, of course, Russell T Davies has got to do something because he's been left with Earth being the only planet in a universe that isn't there. Right? And all these doctors that never got explained. And Tectoon, whoever the fuck that was.
So there's a Rick and Morty episode where they drag in some mind parasites that retcon themselves into someone's existence, yeah? I like the idea that the Timeless Child is an interdimensional parasite like that has retconned themselves into the Doctor Who universe in the same way those things do. That would make lots of sense.
I think the BBC, by bringing back Russell T Davies, by bringing back Tennant and bringing back Catherine Tate and all those other people around it, bringing back Bernard Cribbins, they're already admitting it. They're already admitting it. So all these people getting their fucking panties in a twist and their knickers wet over the fact that, you know, Russell T Davies is going to erase Jodie Whittaker. Well, he's going to have to. Because the fucking idiot that wrote all of it didn't explain it.
I think what's going to happen is he's just going to turn around and go, let's just forget about all that shit. The universe and everything's pretty much the same as it was when we left David Tennant. All right, maybe Peter Capaldi. I like the idea. I love this idea that people thought that people were like, Peter Capaldi died in his TARDIS at the end, and I'm like, oh, that makes me smile.
I don't think they're going to erase her. I think they're going to erase half of the stories. I think they have to erase the Timeless Child. Look, we're about to celebrate 60 years of this show, and so far as I'm concerned, William Hartnell was the first Doctor. He was the first Doctor. He was the first generation. You know, Tennant was 900 and something years old. His Doctor was thing. You know, we all know that how it jumped to 2000 because Matt Smith spent 1,000 years on Christmas, you know, keeping it safe from the Daleks and shit like that. And that's how Matt Smith's Doctor goes out. I think we're going to see Matt Smith, by the way, in this. I think that's the thing that
I think
back.
I think we'll see Matt Smith.
I've got
I think we'll see Matt Smith. I think we'll see Billy Piper.
I think we're going to see.
I'm not sure about Peter Capaldi though.
I think we're going to see Christopher Eccleston.
I don't think we're going to see Christopher Eccleston. With more chance of Capaldi. Capaldi's a bunch. Capaldi's a better actor.
I want to see what's his face again, because he's still. How is that man not aged? What's his face? Paul, the Eighth Doctor. Paul McGann. He is not aged. He is not fucking aged in 30 years. He still looks the same. How is that man not aged?
If anyone got done dirty in Doctor Who, it was Paul McGann. Anyway,
I mean, I've been watching something called Annika, and if you've never seen it, it's quite good. It's got Ruth in from Spooks, right? And it's a really quite a good TV series. She breaks the fourth wall all the time, but Paul McGann is playing her boyfriend, right? Now Ruth is not. Paul McGann's got to be 60 odd, but he looks like he's 40. How is that man not aged? I want whatever he's drinking.
And on that note,
go on.
On that note, I think it's time we wrapped up.
Yes, I think we should.
Because we could be here for a couple of days. I've set him off.
We could.
Anyway.
We could.
Thank you very much for watching. Biffa, as always, legend. Has Chuck put up his Iceland videos yet?
No, but he has just put up one that's really good, actually, on Vermont, and making maple syrup, which is actually really interesting, because they show tapping the trees, and it reminds me of how they tap the trees here for rubber. It's the same freaking process. And he drinks a bourbon maple syrup, which I'm really jealous about. And then he goes to a really amazing stone tower, worth a watch. Good video.
Go to Covaction's channel and watch that. I'm waiting for I'll be honest with you, I'm waiting for the Iceland videos. I want to see the Iceland bits, which haven't happened yet. So go watch that. Support Chuck. Send Laurie some love. Steve, thank you very much for watching. I love the way you sit there in the background. You're calm, polite. Nigel, get those videos out and sorted. We're at 82,000 views so far this year.
And get me 4,000 followers on X, or you're not coming out the closet.
On that note, as Steve says, adios. Play the music, and that's what I'm going to do. Catch you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.